Hello everybody, welcome back to Max Reviews, and today we're doing random reviews again. I'm bringing it back, and so today for our random reviews, we have a bunch of movies that I'm watching for my top 50, my favorite movies from the past 50 years from each year. So that was hard to get out, but anyway, this is going to be my review for Jaws, Halloween, the original, Royal Tenenbaums, Warrior, and The Social Network, which I watched all in anticipation for that video. So let's just get talking about it. Okay, so as I said before, I'm watching these in anticipation for my big favorite movie from the past 50 years each year, and this has been a big feat that I've been working on, lots of anticipation for it. And so just to review these, because I watched 5 movies already and decided, hey, I gotta review these, right? So I'm just gonna do my quick review. I'm not gonna spoil if they're gonna end up on the list or not. At least they'll get an honorable mention, probably, because I just went through the years each year from the past 50 years, and like every single movie that came out that year, and I'm like, which one should I check out? Which ones are classics that I have not seen? And starting us off with, I don't know exactly when this came out. Let me check. It came out in 1975. We have Jaws. Now this is a classic. And I don't think I've ever met somebody that's like, that's a bad movie. I just never saw it before. It's rated PG, so it's not that big of a thing. But I didn't really watch it as a kid because obviously you don't show a kid Jaws. And then I didn't really felt the need to check it out too much until this ranking where I'm like, wow, there isn't really much that I've seen in 1975. So what else am I going to watch? And so this came up, and watching it, let me just say, this is the one movie here that I'm like, that's a masterpiece. Like, there's a few other ones here that are masterpieces, but this one, just easily the best one that I watched out of these. Was so refreshing to be like, oh, that was a good movie. It was solid. It was scary. And some of the things here, the older movies, this is from the 1970s. When you have a giant shark, a 25-foot shark, it's going to be hard to do that, especially about 50 years ago. It's a bit less than 50, 40-something years ago, but still around 50 years ago. And I gotta say, it all holds up so well. And you have this different sort of act structure where each act has something different going on. The first act is setting everything up. People are getting killed. You have the main character. Second act, they're trying to figure out what to do. They're like, we got the tiny fish, but it's not the big shark. And then you get the third act, where my favorite part, where you just get these 3 characters on the boat. You get the captain, the main character, and then sort of like the genius about this stuff. And they all are hunting the shark. It's amazing. I gotta say, the tension, the score, just how it looks, I love it. It all ages so well. It was an easy 10 out of 10 for me. And I just wanted to rewatch it again. I know there's a whole franchise of these movies they made. Jaws 2, Jaws 3D, Jaws Revenge. And so, bad shark movies. This was my first shark movie, and I doubt it will ever be topped. Directed by Steven Spielberg. Another one where I might do a Steven Spielberg ranking. We'll see, maybe in the future. I don't know. I want to do some director rankings. Christopher Nolan and M. Night Shyamalan, maybe. So, it's just, this was one that I knew it was going to be amazing, but it still blew me away. The cast, the characters, like, I had seen none of these actors or actresses before in anything, and then this is just so well. It builds tension. There's the thing where you know they will kill off anybody, and just how it ends, I really enjoyed the ending. It was so perfect, and amazing movie. I can't really say anything that hasn't been said before, because I don't know anybody that hates this movie. And it's amazing. It's an absolute, just stunned how good it is, even after all these years. And like younger generation, this is a classic to check out. And so it just looks great. The idea of it is great. I loved it. And 10 out of 10. I would recommend it 100% if you haven't seen it. I know there's some movies that people are like, you have to check this movie out. And I'm like, I don't think it's going to be that great. And then I check it. I've been checking out a bunch of movies that people have been recommending to me that are like, this is the best movie of that year or something. Then I'm watching that movie. So no spoilers if this actually beats whatever else came out in 1975. That was originally my favorite movie of that year. But yeah, I loved it. Okay, next one that I watched on here is the original one, Halloween. Let me see. What year did that come out? That came out in 1978. Okay. So this movie, it's like the classic horror movie. I just watched Scream. Yeah, earlier last month. I don't know when I watched it, but it was my first like introduction to the slasher genre. And this is like the classic. They were referencing this movie so much, along with Friday the 13th, and then there's Nightmare on Elm Street, and then there's Halloween and Scream. Those are like the classics. And as a classic one, I could understand why this is amazing, why people say it's the classic, like it's the best. But for me, I was sort of disappointed. It was a lot of just, there's this masked person who's like standing there, and you don't really see his face, and then there's like this, she sees him, she's like, ooh, look at that. And then you see him sort of dart out of camera, and then he's gone. Where did he go? The cast here, you have Jamie Lee Curtis, who I'd say she did a good job. Wasn't as good as I was thinking she would be, but, you know, fairly good. And the actual villain, Michael Myers, you see trailers for, like, the new one that came out in 2018, and then Halloween Kills, which came out just last year, and then I'll probably rewatch them all to do a ranking sometime in October, along with I'm just going to watch a bunch of horror franchises in October. It's my birthday month, so do that. But it's a classic. I can understand why. It sets up so many classic things of the genre, like killing somebody where they're running up the stairs that Scream sort of commented on. But I didn't like it, unfortunately. I could understand it. I could respect it. There's some good camera work, good stuff to it. The acting, unfortunately, I don't think was up top. The villain, where you have these Scream movies where you have the motivation and you're like, who is behind it all? This movie didn't really have it. It's like, guy just wants to kill everybody. And I could respect that, but still, when you just don't even show him for the entire movie and you just have him standing there, like with a shark, you could understand in Jaws. You have a shark and he's under the water, or you got to build suspense. This doesn't really build suspense. It's just, if I saw this in real life, there's a guy standing there. He moves away. I come to check over him. He's gone. And you get to see a bit of him. It's more like, huh? Instead of tension building. And so I couldn't get into this one as much. Is it my favorite movie of that year? Well, little spoiler. I hadn't seen any movies really that year that I would say were good or even deserving to make it on that list. So this is my favorite one of that year, but I do have to rewatch another movie. No, I have to check out another movie, which might be in my other random review. I'm just going to do like maybe 3 or 4 of these random review things to review them all. But so far, yeah, this one's the best of that year, even though I would have to give it, unfortunately, I would say a 6 out of 10, maybe 5.5, but I'm thinking a 6 out of 10. I would still go positive. It would just barely screech across the positive. You know what? No, it's a 5.5. I'm changing my mind. 5.5. And you can hate me in the comments, but just, I found it pretty boring, unfortunately. And the kills weren't that great. It was just fine. And I can understand why it's a classic, but it didn't 100% work for me. Next, the movie that came out in 2001, The Royal Tenenbaums. This is directed by, I actually forgot his name. Let me check out what his name is. But this movie is, the movie's about this family who have this weird dynamic going on where you have some of them have special talents and they're all coming back because their dad's dying, coming back to the house. It's directed by Wes Anderson. I had to look that up. But I haven't seen any of his other movies. I know he did Isle of Dogs, and he did, I forgot what it was called. He did Grand Budapest Hotel, which I want to check out. But this movie, it sort of shocked me how good it was. I heard one of my favorite YouTubers, Sean Chandler, talks about this was his favorite movie of 2001, and I had a very solid Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring in 2001. I'm like, that, I don't think, I'll just watch this movie because it seems like a fun movie, but I don't think you're going to beat The Fellowship of the Rings. This movie I still haven't decided if it beats The Fellowship of the Ring or not. Like, this movie is genuinely, like, so good. I'm surprised how funny, how nice, how interesting it is, and the cast here is great. Just to name off some of the cast here, you have a young Ben Stiller here. You have Owen Wilson, and there's Bill Murray's in this. You got Andrew Wilson. Just great cast all around. Even the person that plays the dad, just everywhere all around here. Just great cast. I really enjoyed it. And they just fit the personalities. You have this interesting family dynamic that all the cast members could just pull off so well. And it's weird, it's quirky, it's very offbeat, different sort of a movie. Is it as good as Jaws? No. But it's a fun one. I enjoyed it, how weird it got at times, how just different, and I enjoyed it. And just great cast, great different. Like, the girl lost her finger, and there's a little backstory behind that. One guy was a tennis player, and then he lost this round. And you just have the little mysteries, little things, and you're like, huh. And so I had a great time with this movie. Now, if we're getting to, like, more modern stuff, the next movie on this list that I checked out was Warrior. It was on Netflix. I'm like, hey, I'll check that out. I've been wanting to check it out for a very long time, but I just didn't get to it. It came out 2009, and if you saw my ranking, top 5 movies of 2009, Avatar was the best. And I was like, huh, yeah, I don't know. It was a good enough movie. It was a weaker year for movies, but this movie came out, and it's got, what's his name? I'm blanking out on actors' names today, but his name, okay, oh, yeah, Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy's in this movie, and basically the lead, and it's his no, it's not WWE, it's, boxing movie, basically, mixed martial arts, MMA, yeah, that's what it is, and it's that sort of movie where you have this big championship thing where the winner gets $5 million, and you have these two brothers competing. One is, his daughter has some sort of disease going on, and he's got to do it for his daughter, and also they're light on money, and he just got suspended from his job as a teacher. And then you have Tom Hardy, who he was in a war, and, well, I don't think it was a war. It was probably just some sort of army thing going on in a different country, but he was in some sort of fight thing. He saved a bunch of people, and he couldn't save his best friend, and so he's going to give the money to his best friend's wife and their kids. So you have these two brothers clashing. You have their dad, who's just sort of trying to figure it out how to connect, because he was a drug addict, and he's been clean from that for the past 4 years, I think, and he hasn't seen his kids for 4 years, or his grandkids for that matter. So you have this very interesting dynamic going on. I heard some people actually say this was better than Rocky, which is all-time favorite sports movie, and I don't think it gets that high, but it was still a solid movie. It was a bit disappointing. I didn't get as invested in everything as I wanted to be, but it was still great movie. Performances were great. Tom Hardy, he doesn't say much, but he gives great emotions, and I like the other brother. Actually, I liked him as an actor and his acting stuff better, but as character-wise, I liked Tom Hardy the best. And so I didn't feel the emotions as much. I wasn't like, yeah, when something happened, but it was still a good movie. I would give it, I'd give it an 8 out of 10, pretty solid. And so with that said, our final movie that we're going to be talking about here is The Social Network. This movie came out, let me check, sort of forgot when it came out, but The Social Network came out in 2010. And so this movie, great cast, Andrew Garfield, and you got David Fincher directing. You also have Jesse Eisenberg in the lead, and then you have Justin Timberlake, who knew he could act in another part in the movie. So just great cast. The story is interesting with Facebook, and another movie that I've been trying to check out for a very long time. Heard it was amazing. And It was. It was another one of those 10 out of 10 movies. And you have a big battle here for me with Inception versus The Social Network, where just like hard, hard, hard. And Inception is known as one of my favorite movies of all time. So this is another one of my favorites. So is Jaws. I loved this movie. I love the style, the soundtrack, just the aesthetic, the feel, the vibe, the look, the great actors and the great performances in this movie are so good. Best performances that I watched doing this sort of watch through original good movies that I haven't checked out yet. But amazing movie. I loved it. There isn't so much that I could say. The Facebook stuff works, and just the performances, the feel, the vibe, everything. And I just love how it ends. It doesn't. It acknowledges that what Mark Zuckerberg did was sort of wrong, but still he did get away with it. So it's just sort of weird how they do it. Interesting, not weird, but I liked how they did it. And so great ending to the movie. I love the entire movie. And so if I had to rank these, last place would easily be Halloween. I just not that good. I'd have to give it. I'm mixed on it. Next would be Warrior, and then the Royal Tenenbaums, and then the Social Network, and then easily coming in first would be Jaws, even though the Social Network is sort of chipping at the shark there. So I loved 3 out of the 5 movies. Warrior was a solid movie, and Halloween was just too bad. But anyway, that's the movies that I was checking out for this list. Leave your comments down below if you've heard about or seen these movies and what you think about them, or if you've seen them, what your opinion is on them. So leave your comments down below. Thank you for watching. I'm Braden. This is Max Reviews. Like, subscribe to Max Reviews. Braden out.